Thanks, everyone. I am really excited to share a few stories here. These are my disclosures. And we're supposed to pause for 7 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So my agenda is pretty straightforward. My goal is to share a little bit about my research pathway in chronological order, and I will tell a few colorful stories along the way. They are required, believe me. So for those of you who aren't familiar with my research, I have spent the past 20 years of my life putting sensors on mannequins, on people, anywhere I can put sensors to measure clinical skills performance, whether it's a physical exam or a complex operation, mostly in the sim lab. Especially when we're putting sensors on people, then we can do it with cadavers, animals. It's platform independent. This is an example of one of my surgeons. Let's see if I can do the pointer. Well, you can't see. Anyway, what she's wearing on her forehead is an EEG sensor, and then there's EEG data there plotted out in blue and red and yellow. On her hands are the motion tracking sensors, and we synchronize this with audio and video data from multiple views. What you see in the right, I guess from your right lower hand corner, is sort of the full motion profile of a simulated laparoscopic procedure. This is the kind of data I play with and love. 4 months ago, I was inducted into the National Academy of Medicine, and this was not my plan or a dream, but wow. Very exciting, huge honor, and I'll tell you a little more about that. My research career started really right after my residency. I finished my residency at Howard University and then went to Stanford after my residency to get a PhD in education. My interest was technology and education, obviously, and so I'll take you through. I received my first grant as a grad student. I received a Spencer Dissertation Award, and that award helped me to get money and people to help me finish collecting my data so that I can finish my dissertation and graduate. This was my researcher that I hired with my dissertation money. It was so awesome, Kunal Garotra. We worked together on the sensor data, and he won the first place award at the Stanford biocomputation meeting. I connected with him actually about 5 months ago or so on LinkedIn. He's like CEO and founder of his own company. That means I'm really old. Along the way, ironically, one of my first classes that I took at Stanford, I learned about sensor technology, and I applied for a patent and it got issued, which was really great. That's a whole nother story, but I could just say some of my patents get more, I have more than one patent, but some of my patents get more citations than some of my papers. Other thing here, and maybe I should put my glasses on because I can't see now. My first national grant was from the National Board of Medical Examiners, and this was really cool. The cool thing about it was I was able to take that grant with me. It was a 2-year grant. I was able to take it with me to my first faculty position, which helped in terms of protected time, and then my first chairman, and this is where I pause. If you want to have success early in your career, you have to pick the right chairman and let the right chairman pick you, because this was someone who loved research, partnered with me, and I had protected time, 50% protected time from my first job as an assistant professor. It helped that I brought money. He had a startup package for me from a patient who had just gifted him money for education, so everything was just perfect. Lots of luck in here, okay, lots of luck. The really great thing, partnering with the National Board of Medical Examiners, even after the grant ended, was the knowledge that I learned from their psychometricians, just in terms of looking at data. How do you assess clinical skills? How do you translate sensor data into cutoff scores for giving feedback and saying, performance at this level means minimum competency. Obviously, nobody wants to be minimally competent, but that is the business of certification, is finding at what point are we saying you're safe to do something. So that was a new way of thinking for me and my researcher who was with me in the lab. These are my first researchers. One was an engineer that I stole from across the street in the engineering school, and the other was a pre-med student. Really exciting. That to me is an assistant professor. We wrote a number of small grants. We got money from the foundation of the Northwestern Memorial. These were two entities that gave us money, and the really good thing about this is that it was enough money for us to get pilot data that was sound and solid and allow us to apply for an R01. And this is where the whole thing takes off. Literally, we got a perfect score, which is unheard of. And I was like, that's really, really exciting. But then you're like, okay, all that means is that you're gonna go downhill from there, right? Because the chances of it happening again, I don't know. But it was crazy, amazing, and exciting. Right after that, I say I, but it's my team and I, we received the Presidential Early Career Award, went to the White House to meet Barack Obama. We got articles in the New York Times and all of these really, really great things. And that actually set the career. This was my metric of success, national level recognition of my research. And I tell you why. I mean, obviously, this is a really, really high bar. Here's the story. The number of microaggressions and doubts that I received for going off the beaten pathway as a surgeon to get a PhD in education, wow. It was a lonely place. And I needed to prove myself. And all of those times, you know, writing grants and doing this, I'm like, I'm sticking with my passion. I love what I do. I know I'm the zebra. I don't fit in my department. A lot of other stories I will tell. And so I needed to knock it out the park, like really in a big way. And so the R01 and the PCASE award, in that moment, I felt, okay, I did the right thing. And I looked at my vision. If you see everything here, my strategy in terms of getting there, my vision for my research, the value of that PhD, and then the growth that I took in terms of growing small research dollars in a team. This was my R01 team. By the time the first two researchers were my startup team, and then this was my team. One full-time researcher who's standing on the other side, two engineers, a pre-med student and a medical student. They're all practicing, and it's just really great right now. But that was my team. No one gets to be where I am without peer mentors. So you have to have a chair who believes in your research, and then a peer mentor who, this is Melina Kibbe, if you all don't know her. She is a surgeon. She was chair of surgery at UNC, and now she's dean of the medical school at UVA. She shared R01s with me that were successful. Not in my area, but at least you got to see the format. You got to see what it was like. She introduced me to people who and said, look, this is the person, I know you never met her, but you need to send her an email and ask her to read your grant. She asked really great questions. And I did everything she told me to do. Literally, then Melina Kibbe gets the PCASE award. And this is an award in 2010. This is an award that's given to her. It literally stands for the Presidential Early Career Award for scientists and engineers. I was riding on her coattails. Everything she told me was golden. I got the PCASE award in 2011, right after her. Lots of stories there. Really exciting day at the White House. A lot of stories there. I don't want to take all the time. I'll let you. Only thing that I didn't like was I think I was probably the shortest researcher there in my heels. Anyway, another story. Then I actually would move on to Wisconsin, which was really interesting. So I transferred my R01, and I literally was getting the PCASE award, and Northwestern was very excited, and I was negotiating and leaving, which it was a good move, believe me. And the good thing about the PCASE award is it gives you extra years in your grant funding, as well as more years on your grant and more money. And I was able to get in addition more sensors, a lot more sensors, and my first high-level researcher in terms of signal processing, and that really made a big difference. Analyzing that data, it just doubled the pace, and then We also connected with colleagues that I've known for a while in the area of haptics, the science of touch, and that just added a whole nother layer and a platform for our ability to understand this data and to write more grants and be assertive with what we were doing. We then ended up getting another multi-million-dollar grant from the Department of Defense. That was my first big grant that was initiated at Wisconsin. And then the requests for talks started coming in more national presence, which was really exciting. The National Academy of Science has a lecture series, and I gave a lecture there. I gave a TED Talk. And then I had my first publication, New England Journal of Medicine. So by this time, I'm like, okay, and you still test yourself, right? It doesn't matter how much success you have. You're like, okay, great, I made it. I know I feel good. If I don't do anything else, I made good on the PhD and going off the beaten path. But then you start to worry, am I gonna be a one-hit wonder, right? So this is the things that we do to ourselves. So success is really defined in your own head, and you really have to pay attention to that narrative. The DoD grant got me another researcher in terms of motion tracking, and that was just really exciting. And then I moved back to Stanford in 2018. So 18 years, if you look at this whole pathway, and 10 years to what I called my success. I have 6 minutes to summarize here, and I'll be very open because I promised if I ever got here, I would tell the truth, because you have to know all the other parts of the story. My first assigned mentor, so I had the chair. The chair supported me, and it was perfect. You have no idea how perfect it was. Unbeknownst to him, and I never told him, just because, the person he assigned to be my mentor told me in my face, I didn't sign up to mentor you. I don't believe in the work that you're doing, but here's my, advice for you, and handed me a sheet of paper, looked me dead in my face and said, I didn't sign up to do this, and it just became clear that I was on my own. Failed relationships. I have 2 of them that are noteworthy. How do they fail? For me, naive in terms of understanding what I meant to those persons. One scenario, I showed up to a meeting and several persons came to me and said, this person is presenting your work, but your name's not on it. You need to be careful. I still didn't understand it. I didn't believe it. I still trusted this person, and unfortunately for me, because I didn't understand how to handle the relationship and I wasn't sure what was really happening, my very first time, like with this kind of thing, and I'm glass half full, 100%, excited about people, let's go, let's do this. It blew up really badly in terms of other things that this person blocked in terms of progression in my career, rumors, so on and so forth. Better now. In terms of those persons who spoke with that person and believed it and now know that it's not true, but it took 10 years. Painful. I'll leave it at that. There's one other story, just interesting. Grants, I have to say, and Melina Kibbe and I we gave talks where we actually took pictures of the number of grants that failed. So you get your file cabinet, your long file cabinet, you have the number of grants that failed, and the ones that you got, it's 10 to 1, people. Just keep writing, and you have to realize every time you write a grant and you don't get the money, it forced you to put your dreams on paper. And then you take those pictures, you take those phrases, and you put them back into the next dream, and the thing she said to me, and I was like, look, this was a good one. She's like, it's still, you have to know your audience. I've been there before. She said, it is your responsibility to be able to tell the story so people understand your dream and give you money for it. So all that to say, lots of success and people look at you, but they don't know these stories, and I promised I would tell the stories, and you've got some of them. Again, really high bar for me. I'm just saying for me, that's what I considered success, and at least a balance for me taking that detour, and everyone was saying, why would you do this? You're a surgeon. Why would you go hang out with school teachers? The other part that I didn't say after this was they all were offering me a job afterwards. It was really great. But I wanted their mentorship like 10 years ago. I wanted people to believe in me and be excited about, my detour. And they were like, we don't understand anything that you're doing and why you're doing that. So I think you have to define success on your own terms. Whether it's your first grant, your first paper, your first partner, your first research employee, your first mentor, be realistic in terms of making that pack in terms of what that is. I mean, this was my R01 team. I mean, they knocked that out of the park. And when I think about it now, I don't think about the R1, I think about them. Those people are just amazing. I mean, the grant writing parties we had, staying up all night doing things, they were committed. And the person that you see, oh wow, in black sitting down, he came with me when I left Northwestern to Wisconsin. This is my DOD team. 5 people from this group came with me when I left Wisconsin to go to Stanford. Friends, I'm still riding on Melina Kibbe's coattails. Lots of things going on there. This is my R01 renewal team, my team currently that I have at Stanford. And again, most of them, except for the really tall person, Ken Peroni, he was a Stanford researcher who joined our lab right away. But the 5 other researchers came with me from Wisconsin. If you want to be a successful researcher, you have to join the AAS. If you want to be a successful researcher, you have to join the AAS. These are my friends from the AAS. Obviously, I knew Melina Kibbe before going there. I can call any one of these persons right now, and they will help me do anything that I want to do in my career, with my family, with my life, anything that I'm facing, and all of them have R01s. Hang out with people who get grants, right? That's how you have a successful career. Last thing I will tell you, and this is one of my funny secrets, but it's real and kind of a little embarrassing, but it's true. That is not an alien. How many people know what that thing is? It's a back massager, okay? I learned one time when I was really stressed out and I was staying up all night, I was like, oh, I gotta get this grant in. I had the back massager, I massaged it myself. Oh my goodness, do you know what it does? It gets rid of all the lactic acid, you get rid of the septic tank, and then you can actually work longer. That's embarrassing. So I'm hacking my life, but it's really true. The end of the story is be good to yourself. Thank you.